It's the third week of the month and you already know the math doesn't work. You've run it twice, both times on the Notes app on your phone, both times arriving at the same embarrassing integer. After rent, after the car payment, after the minimum on the credit card you swore you'd pay down this quarter, you have $340 left. Not until next month. Until next Friday. You make $54,000 a year. You have a job title on LinkedIn that sounds like it means something. You eat lunch at your desk and you tell yourself it's because you're focused, because you're ambitious, because you're building towards something, and not because the $11 salad place downstairs is a line item you can no longer absorb without consequence. You are not in crisis. That's what you tell yourself, and it is technically true in the way that a lot of things are technically true. Accurate at the surface level, misleading underneath. You are not drowning. You are treading water in the dark, and the shore could be anywhere, and you have been treading for longer than you planned. The office is open plan, all pale wood and motivational phrases stenciled onto exposed brick, and you sit in it every day surrounded by people you know by first name and expense report, and not much else. Your manager drives a car that costs more than your annual salary. You've never asked what he makes. There is an etiquette to not asking, a social contract sealed in silence. He walks past without stopping. His shoes cost $600. You know this now in the same breath that you know the $1.2 million, and you know that the $600 came out of a bonus that arrived last March, and underneath all of that you know, without knowing how you know it, that his mortgage is underwater by $44,000 on a house he bought in 2019 because the $1.2 million is real, but it is also fragile, leverage, stretched thin across 3 accounts and a 401k that he stopped contributing to 18 months ago when his daughter needed braces and his wife's car needed a new transmission in the same month. The number is not what you expected, and that, you will realize later, is the first true thing this gift teaches you. You look away before he can catch you staring. Your heart is doing something irregular. You look at your hands on the keyboard and you try to breathe like a person who has not just had the fundamental architecture of the social world revealed to them in the middle of a Tuesday afternoon. You look at the woman across the partition. Simone, HR coordinator, always the first to leave on Fridays. Beside her, $8,400. You feel something move through your chest that isn't quite pity and isn't quite recognition, but lives somewhere between them. $8,400. That is everything she has. That is the wall between her and a genuine emergency. And it is thin enough that the right car repair, the wrong medical bill, a single month of something going sideways could dissolve it entirely. You have $340 and a 401k with $6,200 in it. $4.1 million. He is 53. He wears chinos on Fridays and complains about traffic and sends emails with typos and once microwaved fish in the communal kitchen, and nobody said anything to him about it because of a principle that isn't written anywhere but is understood by everyone. He is not wildly, cartoonishly wealthy. You know from the number that there are people in this city who would find $4.1 million quaint, embarrassing, the net worth equivalent of a studio apartment. But he is completely, structurally, categorically free in a way that you are not, and that you are beginning to understand you were never going to be. Not on this path, not at this rate, not with this arrangement of income and expense and time that you have been treating as a temporary condition rather than a trajectory. The water from the kitchen tap is cold and you drink it and you look out the window at the street below, and even from 6 floors up you can feel the numbers starting. Pedestrians, dozens of them. Each one a figure, a story, a whole private arithmetic that has nothing to do with how they carry themselves or what they're wearing or how fast they walk. A man in a suit. $67,000, mostly in home equity on a property he shares with a partner whose number you can't see from here. A woman in paint-spattered jeans and expensive sneakers. $1.8 million, creative sector wealth, the kind that came quietly and early and sits lightly on people who didn't expect it. A teenager looking at his phone, $200. Not $200,000. $200, which is not meaningfully different from nothing, which is in fact exactly what nothing looks like when you're 17 and the only financial container becomes overwhelming. Not frightening, not exactly, but total. The numbers come without asking, and they stack up faster than you can process them, and the carriage is full, and every face beside every number is a whole life running on a whole private budget, and the diversity of it, the sheer human range of financial circumstance packed into a single commuter car at 6:15 on a Tuesday is something you have no framework for. The woman with the designer bag, $46,000. The bag is real. The $46,000 is also real. You begin to understand that these two facts can coexist, that the visible performance of wealth and the actual condition of wealth are not the same variable, that a significant portion of what you have spent your life reading as signals of financial status are simply choices, some of them expensive choices made by people who cannot actually afford them, purchased on the logic that looking wealthy is adjacent to being wealthy, and that the distance between those two things can be crossed through momentum and confidence and the willingness to carry a balance. The man in the construction jacket in the corner, $3,200. He is reading something on a cracked screen phone and his boots are worn down at the heel, and his number is the kind of number that means you are always one missed shift from a decision you don't have to make. And yet he is calm. He is reading. He is not performing anything. Not for you, not for the rest of the carriage. The absence of performance. There is a man on the corner in a gray overcoat, speaking into an earpiece with the particular velocity of someone whose time is expensive. His number appears before you've fully looked at him, $47 million. You stop walking. $47 million. He is not famous. He does not appear in the news. He is just a man in an overcoat on your street, in your neighborhood, which you thought you knew and apparently did not. And the number beside him is not a trophy, not a crown. It sits there the way any data point sits, neutral, informational, without narrative. He hangs up, glances at you, looks away. He has no idea what you can see. Nobody does. That is the thing that begins to settle into your chest like something permanent. You are the only person who knows that the world is made of these numbers, that every human relationship is conducted in the shadow of financial asymmetry, that nobody is allowed to name directly, but that governs everything. Who defers to whom? Who gets the benefit of the doubt? Who is taken seriously in which rooms? Who is offered the job, the lease, the loan, the grace? You think about every room you've walked into with confidence and every room you've walked into trying to make yourself smaller, and you begin to understand that both of those feelings were downstream of a number, your number, the number that preceded you into every interaction like a credential nobody admitted to checking, but everyone used. You walk. The city opens up its arithmetic. A block of brownstones where the residents average $3.8 million per household, and the nearest grocery store is a 20-minute subway ride because supermarkets follow purchasing power the way water follows gravity. Downhill toward money, away from its absence. A housing project 3 blocks from a neighborhood the real estate listings call up and coming, which is a phrase that means the numbers are moving, that someone's $8,000 net worth is going to become someone else's $400,000 asset appreciation, and someone else is generally not the person who was already there. A coffee shop where the barista has $1,100 to her name and makes $12 an hour making beverages for people whose net worths average 40 times her annual salary, and nobody in the transaction discusses this, and the transaction is completed smoothly, and everyone says thank you, and the gap between them vanishes into ordinary courtesy and doesn't exist again until the next time it does. You find a bench. You sit down. The evening is cooling and the city is doing its city things, and somewhere behind your left eye the familiar ache is settling in, the headache that started this, the price of clarity. You think about what you could do with this. The thought comes before you've had time to examine whether you should be having it, honest and immediate. You could use this. You could sit across from someone in a negotiation and know before they've said anything what kind of leverage they have, what kind of pressure they can absorb, whether the power in the room is with you or against you. And this comes slower, arrives the way a cold front arrives, announced first by pressure. You think about Simone, $8,400. You think about the construction worker on the subway, $3,200. You think about your own mother's face over a kitchen table with a stack of mail that needed sorting, and the particular quality of silence in a house where money is tight enough that everyone knows not to ask for things, where the unspoken language of financial stress passes between family members like weather, unavoidable, endured, never quite discussed. You think about what it would have meant for your parents to know what you know now, what it would mean for anyone who has ever walked into a bank or a doctor's office or a car dealership or a job interview carrying only their own number, their own limited arithmetic, and tried to navigate a transaction with someone who had structural access to the full picture and was using it. You know something now that you cannot unknow, and the question sitting in the center of it, the question you are going to carry home with you and into tomorrow and into every room you walk into from this point forward, is not what to do with the advantage. It's larger than that. It's whether the advantage is real or whether seeing the numbers clearly is simply the first step in understanding how thoroughly the numbers have already been arranged, set in motion long before you arrived at any table, running on logic that predates you and will outlast you and does not require your participation to continue operating exactly as it does. You have been given X-ray vision in a building designed by architects who already know every wall, every load-bearing beam, every exit. They built the building. They do not need to see through it. The city moves around you. The numbers move with it. And somewhere in the distance, in a part of the city that looks like a different city, someone whose number you can't quite make out from here is making a decision tonight whose consequences will arrive in your neighborhood in 18 months as a rent increase, or a closure, or a rezoning, or a new development with a name that sounds like a lifestyle rather than a building. The decision is already made. The number is already moved. You just can't see it yet, and by the time you can, the math will already be finished. You sit on the bench a little longer. The headache is not going away. You don't think it's going to. The question you're left with, the one you'll carry to sleep and wake up holding, isn't whether you can use what you now see. It's whether seeing it clearly is the same thing as being free of it. Whether knowing the architecture of a system is enough to move differently inside it, or whether knowing just makes you a more conscious participant in something that continues regardless. You have the numbers now. Every number, in every room, in every transaction and silence and deference and assumption that runs the daily machinery of a world sorted by money into those who know and those who are known about. The only thing you don't have yet is what to do next. And that gap between seeing clearly